To be continued. Episode 6.
6. We finally made it.
Episode 6, honey child. We here. As you all may or may not know, my name is Ebrandon.
And I'm Brandon. And we're the co-hosts of the To Be Continued podcast.
To be, get it, Brandon, Ebrandon? Be continued. Absolutely. I think to get started, today we're going to be talking about a few things. We're really going to be focusing on our experiences as black men. And then we're also going to do a goal update. And then we're also going to, well, I don't know what we're going to do after that. We're going to see. We're going to see. All right, so first we're going to do our goal check-in first because hopefully it'll be quick, fast. Well, y'all know us. It might be quick. We might get to rambling. You never know.
Yeah, but I mean, it has been a while. Was it December? Yeah. Or late November?
The last time we checked in on our goals was we officially checked in on our goals was episode 2. We talked about it a little bit in episode 3, and we didn't really go over them in episode 4 or 5, which just released today, by the way. Episode 5. Make sure you check us out. It's about pop culture.
Yeah, it was fun.
Who else would you bring?
I tell you who's not going to get left.
Only... You know my stipulation. You know what my stipulation was.
That's it. And I cut that right on out. Amen.
Hey.
Ian and JP will know. So shout out to Ian and JP. Go listen to it. Tell us what you think.
Hey, maybe that'll be in the deleted scenes.
Yes.
It'll definitely be in the deleted scenes, most definitely. But anyway, goal check-in. So you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So my first goal was personal, and I wanted to schedule at least bi-weekly therapy sessions. I'm big on mental health, and especially in the winter months, that seasonal depression really kicks in.
Ooh, girl.
I haven't gotten to schedule those yet, but that always stays in the forefront of my mind. So I'm constantly thinking about when that time where it becomes more feasible comes along, am I to make sure that I'm going to be ready to set those up.
Okay. I want to pause right there just to offer a suggestion because I don't know, maybe something you could look into. Does the school system offer employee assistance programs like EAP?
Yeah, I think you get 3. But also I think it has to be in our insurances. What do you call it?
In your network.
Yeah, they have to be in the network, and I think my therapist is outside of the network as of January. So I would honestly rather pay and apply for reimbursement because it is someone that I've established a relationship with.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next goal. Pause. Help me.
Podcast goal.
Oh, okay. So, my podcast goal had to do with getting feedback and improving. So, we did make an investment in a podcast microphone. We do have 2. So, we'll definitely be improving on audio. And also, we are in the makings of improving on our videos as well. So, be on the lookout for that. But also, I admittedly, and I had to laugh about it, one of my good friends, Frank, who you'll see in future episodes, but he came by while he was on work and he was like, I'm here to help solve that beeping noise.
And you're trying to figure out how you knew about it.
And I'm like, wow. And I didn't realize, because I had become so accustomed to it as we were talking, I didn't realize actually how loud and distracting it is. So shout out to the viewers who have listened to every episode. Frank's like, I listen to every episode, but every time it's like a beep, it takes me out and I have to come back. And I'm like, but he also brought gifts, so he actually brought the batteries to stick into.
Come on!
He's like, I can help you put them in if you want. I'm like, I got that. I can do that. But
shout out to good friends.
Yeah, so they definitely, people are giving back feedback, and so we definitely appreciate it. So we look forward to growing with you.
And professional goal.
My professional goal, Okay, I let my networks that I started to make at that conference that I went to start to dwindle a little bit, so that's my fault. I accept responsibility for that. But I did manage to run into some of my mentors that actually I'm in more consistent contact with there, and it was kind of a surprise. So, it was definitely not wasted. And also, I think I've been thinking about things professionally, even though I may have not been talking to people outside yet. So I'm kind of just trying to formulate some things in my head that I can present to other people and see where that goes. So it's still chugging along, even though it's not necessarily how I pictured it.
Okay. Yeah. But progress. That's all that matters.
Progress and growth.
Right. Okay. So I guess for my goals, my personal goal was to save $1,000. I have started to try to save a little bit. Again, progress, not where I want to be right now, but also just educating myself on my finances, becoming more literate. Also being able to, as I'm learning things, just allow other people to benefit from those things that I'm learning as well. So, again, just kind of investing in myself, just trying to unlearn these bad habits that I have. So,
they're hard.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Started saving, but not all the way there yet. My podcast goal was to get at least 50 followers, and as of today, we have like way over 100 followers on Instagram. And but for some reason, it's hard to get followers on Twitter, and I don't understand why.
I don't know.
We still have less than 50 followers on Twitter, so I'm not sure. So
and the links are like all together, but I guess it's just
I don't know. Maybe people getting away from Twitter. Maybe podcast people don't like Twitter.
Let us know.
And we got. I don't want to tell you how many likes we got on Facebook. Facebook, we got over 300 likes on Facebook already.
Shout out to y'all. Shout out to all.
Shout out to all the faithful listeners. Everybody who likes the things that we talk about. We try to switch it up every now and then. Well, not every now and then, but every week we try to talk about something different. And I promise you that next week on episode 7, we've been talking about it for a long time, but next episode, we got to talk about it. Imposter syndrome. We've been talking about it since episode 1, and every time we be like, well, that's a to be continued. So we're going to have to, when are we going to continue the conversation? So we're going to have to do that. I'm sorry. I just went off on a tangent. Look at me.
Be great. So I guess you had your personal, you're still working on that. Your personal, you gave professional and podcast. Your personal had to do with.
I gave personal and podcast, not professional yet.
Okay, tell me about professional.
All right, so my professional goal was to either get a promotion or get a new job. I was offered a new job at Burlington Kia, but I ended up turning that down for one reason or another. Personal reasons, I just didn't see the benefits outweighing the negatives.
Right, that's real.
So that was totally one of the reasons. But I have been I've been in cahoots with my district manager about possibly getting a promotion, maybe not transferring, but getting a promo and going to live on site somewhere. I've been trying to get a lot of inquiry about that. I see there are a few positions open, and just the pros and the cons of doing it. And to me, most of the pros kind of outweigh the cons on that because
I never heard of that.
You live on site at the facility. You don't pay any rent. I think they said you only put down like maybe a $500 deposit. It's usually at least 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's enough for like you and another person, or like if you got like a kid or something, you can have your kid live there.
Wow.
The only thing you pay for is cable and Wi-Fi. They pay for electricity, water, all that. They come with washer and dryers. And I'm just like, yo. And they said they vary from site to site, like as far as like the size. Somebody said they've seen one as big as like a separate house, separate from the building. It was like 5 bedrooms. I'm like, what the fuck? I said, damn. Like, if I were property manager at that site, I probably would just work here for the rest of my life because I don't have to pay for it. I'd be stacking my chips.
Probably would.
And that's what I want to do. I want to stack my chips. I just want to. If I am extended, right now I've been talking to the guy in Texas. The store is like 30 minutes from Dallas, so I don't know. He asked me had I talked to my district manager. I had talked to him. He was excited. I'm not gonna say excited. He was encouraging. He encouraged me to go ahead and if that's what I really wanted to do, to apply, because at one point I was thinking about going back to Virginia, and then I was just like, I don't know if I want to go back to Virginia, which we'll get into that here in a minute too. To be continued. So just in a roundabout way, everything's kind of come full circle. There go that term again, full circle from episode 1. Anyway, I'm always reminiscing, y'all. I'm sorry. But yeah, so we'll see. I tried to see if the stores in Charlotte were going to have any openings, but they kind of backfilling them. They might be opening some new stores in Charlotte too soon. So if that is the case, I will try to apply for one of those positions. But if it happens to work out before anybody else hits me back, because I was looking at Texas, Louisville, Kentucky. It's Coppell, Texas is where the other one. Coppell, Texas, Louisville, Kentucky, and where's the other one? California?
Don't cut off your opportunities.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but I only told my district manager like Texas, so I just reached out to all these other people too. And he was just like, "Oh well, I thought you were talking about Texas." I'm like, "Sir, like, can I just keep my options open? Like, please, can I keep my options?" Anyway,
I mean, when options come around, it's nice to keep them. So
absolutely. So, I mean, everything is everything, man. Like, hey, look, Texas, they pay the teachers more out there. They pay them more out there. You can go out there. If it's 2 bedrooms, there's no rent. You telling me all we gotta do is split $100.
Please don't tell me, because you know I'm not I'm not like a sporadic person. Like everything has to be planned, but I tell you every now and again, there's just a little spark, and it's like, let's do it, and I just go for it.
Hey, we'll keep y'all.
I mean, that's kind of how we ended up with.
Yeah.
To be continued. We ended up thinking about it, and then we were just like, we have to record our first episode.
Yeah. Start. All you gotta do is start. The hardest part is starting, and I can attest to that. Even when it comes to like working out and shit, the hardest part is starting.
I need to severely work out.
And when I say starting, I don't mean starting as in, oh well, you just go on one day. Like, you got to get into a routine. Yeah, you got to start a routine. Otherwise, it's gonna be you're gonna be faulty on it. You're gonna be faltering and all this other stuff. So anyway. So that's my 3 goals. I done went off on a tangent. I've been talking for like 12 minutes. It ain't really been 12 minutes, but it feel like that long. So my personal goals: started saving money, but not there yet. Professional goal: getting there, hopefully, and then podcast goal: we're there everywhere except Twitter. So
like us on Twitter,
follow us. You already know. To be continued. PC.
All right, so hit us up. If you can follow on Instagram, follow on Twitter. I mean,
right.
But no, so yeah, that's our check-in. We'll keep you guys updated. It has been a while, even though we just put out episode 5 as we're recording this one. That was recorded like several weeks ago, so this is the first time we've really gotten to sit together and kind of chill and discuss things. So I think it deserved a little extended check-in.
Right.
But so our topic for this episode is going to focus mainly on us kind of sharing our experience as Black males. We're recording this in February, so we'll be releasing it during the designated Black History Month. But we just wanted to take the time to really discuss a few aspects of our Black experience and how they've affected us, and kind of generate conversation with you, the listeners, and kind of find that common ground as we kind of exit out of February and get closer to spring and all that brings.
Or even if you can relate, and maybe you have done something that we haven't, that may have worked for you. So we just here to facilitate the discussion and we just want y'all to give us feedback. Talk to us. I haven't checked the hashtag on Twitter, so maybe that's why people ain't follow us back, because I have not checked the hashtag.
You could be right. I let Brandon handle the Twitter side most often.
I have not.
I'm not, but that could be it. So, shout out to the followers on Twitter that we may have not followed back yet. You still rock. Keep liking and sharing on Twitter as well.
Well, with that, I guess the first thing we want to talk about the first thing I want to bring up is childhood experiences, and how I feel as though your experiences as a child really do shape and mold who you are as an adult. There were a lot of things that I experienced as a child that a lot of people did it or didn't have to, and things like that. And so just, I guess, looking back on it, just hindsight being 2020, it might low-key be PTSD, but I'm not sure. I don't think it is, but I don't know. Because I've seen so much, and if I could just list you off a name of things, like I've seen people get arrested, I've seen people get shot, I've seen people robbing people, I've been robbed, I've been the struggle is my child, crazy. So much happened, just not living with my parents, a lot, and I think that experience has both helped and hindered me as an adult. Having to grow up so fast, it required me to become more conscious of who I was and what I was doing at an early age, as opposed to other people who get to go out and make mistakes and come back and parents swoop in to save the day. It wasn't like that for me. I had to stay on my shit because wasn't nobody coming to get me.
Right.
Don't call me, I'll call you.
Right.
And that was the narrative that was kind of instilled in me. And so anytime somebody came up, oh well, we about to do this. No, I'm good. I'm going back to the house.
Yeah.
And
you kind of develop this spidey sense. Your response starts to become a little bit more mature in some cases. I think I even find that now. And I think it's just the nature of who I am. But, we talk about being an old soul. And I think a lot of times that's just a mature personality in response to where the world thinks you should be. And so it's a lot of my closest friends now, with the exception of, you and my inner college circle, it's they're probably the same distance from me as they are from my mom's age, or some of them may be closer to my mom's age. And that's just because I gravitate toward people who I guess are more focused on building rather than exploring. Right. And I guess that's because I've always looked to that as a sense of, or a goal. Being able to be stable and to build has always been my major goal that kind of has pushed me from a kid's point of view into now is it's pushing me to want to do more and be more. Right. Each and every time. It's
anything to not be where I was.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think we had the conversation earlier about it's we feel like we're running from the struggle. But we'll talk about that a little later.
I was about to say, because, overall, I guess overall for me, my childhood, if I had to rate my childhood from a 1 to a 5, I'd probably rate it a 2. Maybe 2.5 out of 5. And sometimes I feel like I'm ungrateful because even though I didn't live with my parents, I was still taken care of. And at a certain point, that became on me because I was offered, to go out and live with them, and I hated it. I was from the city; they was living out there in the country. I didn't know nobody. It was the middle of the school year when I got there, and granted, by the time everything was all said and done, I'm E motherfucking Brandon. So I had friends, but it was just weird, and just different from me being able to walk out the front door and be able to see people, the other kids playing, my friends, like, oh, hey, I'm going to see y'all, walking across the street, and, they right there across the parking lot. But living out there, it was more of, it was this big ass plot of land, probably like 3 acres, and just, you got to do all that. And then the apartment complex where everybody else lived was like way across the way, and either have to walk through your yard or somebody else's yard to get all the way over there. And like, nobody ever came to see me, so I spent a lot of time, like in my 6th grade year, I spent a lot of time in the house, like not doing a whole lot. On weekends, I would go back, my mom would, take me back, and, we would do stuff. But overall, it was just,
I don't think I just didn't. Like, I like to go out and play with my friends sometimes, but I had eczema, and I still have eczema, but I have eczema. My grass would break me out, and so a lot of I played like football and things like that, but like I was never a fully like outdoorsy kid. I was a nerd. Like, I remember for Christmas I asked my mom for like a microscope kit. I loved like scientific things. I loved sci-fi and things of that sort. So, it was, when I think about it, it was kind of more of what I have now, like more secluded, but like when I come into the space of people, I can mesh. They don't usually pick up that I'm like sometimes socially anxious at the moment.
Right.
But we were having a discussion about how it seems like we are stuck in this running from the struggle mode. Like, you read something, if you want to mention that. About.
I was on social media like I always am. Social media, I'm just scrolling, reading through, and I saw a tweet, and it said, all some people know is the struggle. So, and they don't know how to get out of it. Either they don't know how to get out of it, or they're afraid to get out of it. And that shit just kind of resonated with me, because I identified with that statement, because I lived in the struggle so long that it really is all I know. Like, I don't know
That's
how to
real.
how to be sustainable on my own, or sustain myself. I don't know how to manage my money. I don't know how to, have proper, communication in relationships. I don't know how to do all that. Like, and I wasn't taught how to do that. Let me go back. I wasn't taught how to do that as a child. And so now as an adult, it's just, I have to start learning how to do those things that a lot of other people were afforded at a young age. But here I am, grown as fuck, and just don't know what to do.
Do you ever, and it could just be me, but like, do you ever feel scared of the thought of like having a savings?
I'm scared of having money because I feel like I would spend it on something I don't need.
I think that's me too, and I think also it's just foreign territory to me. We talk about like living the struggle. I think it also resonated with me because I think sometimes I override my decisions that I know are more beneficial to me just because they're foreign to me, and I've never had an outcome from them. And so I think like sometimes when we talk about living in the struggle and then we're running, trying to, like, we're always teeter-tottering because it's like you mentioned, those habits that we have become such like natural to us and very innate, because it's like the struggle is basically being stuck in survival mode. And so you're always having to make a way. And I think we've never had a moment where, if it wasn't us personally, someone had to be making a way for us to our very survival. And so we're so used to that it feels, peace feels very foreign at times, where it's like, I have $50 left in my bank account and not -5.
Yeah.
And it sends a panic. It's like, what did I not pay, or what's going on, or something has to be wrong, because it doesn't seem natural when We've worked so hard. You should have money left over. You shouldn't be tapped out or in the negatives every month. And so, I think I don't think that going back to like talking about like our Black experience, I don't think that's foreign to a lot of Black people. Where I think we've had this generation of the struggle, and that produces another generation of the struggle that's become how we teach our generations. Like the way that we present the world is that you're gonna have to survive, instead of
it's a dog world out here,
and it doesn't breed any collectivist culture. And then for those, of us who may make it out, it's like we still have that I gotta be the best mentality. And if you see it differently, it creates this cognitive dissonance of what I see is not what I believe and what seems right to me, and then you get stuck. But that's my long TED Talk on
Listen, the struggle is nothing to play with. The struggle is nothing to play with. So if you've never experienced it, I hope you don't ever have to, because that shit is real. But we're also going to be here. What?
I just want to say I'm sorry. On the positive,
okay,
because we want to look at that. On the positive, I think we've grown into very strong people.
Absolutely.
And we haven't wasted those survival skills. Like, we may not make the best decisions all the time, but I think we still have made it out of one situation, and we're maintaining another and focused on moving forward.
Right. Absolutely. Agreed. It's like we've identified the situation and the issues, and now we're just trying to figure out how to go, where to go from here.
Right.
Well, shit. That goes right into our next topic, making it out.
Hey,
trying to make it out of the struggle. Like, and for different people, it's different. For some people, it's, and I'm gonna say this, but I have an issue with the military coming to the low income neighborhoods and pushing the military on them as the only way out. And don't get me wrong, and that's how a lot of people make it out. They get into the military. The military, because once you go into the military, you don't have to worry about anything. Pretty much, they feed you, they give you somewhere to live. If you live on base, they pretty much provide your clothes for you, like all that. But to me, they disproportionately target Black and brown kids in these affected areas, and they get into the military, even though they have all these benefits. They aren't taught how to use them. They aren't taught how to manage their money. So a lot of them are broke. A lot of them, all they want to do is turn up. So it's just like, at what point does all that stop being who you are? Like, when do you transform? When do you evolve? And I think what happens to a lot of people is they don't know where to go. So they just continue to keep doing what they know because they don't know what else to do. And here we are trying to make it out. We got to identify those bad habits and just slowly but surely correct them. Like,
if you
kind of, sort of.
I think for some of us, and I agree with you, and so mine is kind of stemming off of that. But what I think an issue that I find is sometimes the Black experience is very heavy. Like, the culture that we carry is very heavy. And so sometimes the negatives that we may think of when we think about being Black in America, if we get an opportunity to kind of drop that weight, because it feels like someone's kind of dumped us into a river with cement shoes on. And it's like we're trying to hold our breath long enough, and so that hopefully we can drop those weights. But as soon as we drop those weights, what do we got to do? We got to kick as fast as we can to get away from it. And I think that's where not only military, but I think also athletics comes into play. Like, I'm all for athletics, but I think that's the closest to instant gratification that people can think of when you think of going from poor to millionaire overnight.
Absolutely.
And I think people invest so much into sports, and so there's so much exposure. Like, think ESPN is sports. So, it's like the fact that sports is such a popular thing worldwide, it's like that's what a lot of black and brown children see. They see those people not only glorified, but they see those people who are able to buy their mama a house, who wearing what they want, driving what they want. And when you think about that, that's so enticing that a kid is more likely to say, I want to pick up a basketball or a football than to pick up a pencil and be a writer. Like, you have 12 million to 1 people trying to be like LeBron James to Langston Hughes. Both great individuals in their own fields. But it's like so much suffers, or not suffers, so much goes unnoticed on the good that people can do here, because for some scientists, they don't get a big break.
Right.
They stay poor. For people like teachers, they kind of stay poor unless they get 2-person income or a second job or another source of income. So you're not going to give back into the community that way usually, because you're trying to kick as fast as you can away from all that weight and to just breathe. And so making it out sometimes comes with this unwarranted guilt, because you wonder why you sometimes.
Yeah, why me? Like, and I think for me personally, the guilt is more of, I want to take everybody with me, but that's not the case. And as I've noticed here recently, with everything going on with Dwyane Wade and Gabrielle Union and them supporting their son, and this has just caused a tizzy like all across social media.
Daughter.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, daughter. Sorry, that misgendered. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
That was cool. Because I knew you knew.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you respected it. You respected her wishes.
Which is a lot more than what a lot of you motherfuckers have been doing. And y'all should be ashamed of yourselves talking about a fucking 12-year-old child. Well, how does a child know who they are, what they want to do? Oh my God, they hit a boozy dumbass something. Man, he's gonna get his dick cut off. Shut the fuck up.
You don't know who you are, but when y'all were in middle school, y'all were chasing these little girls around the dance.
Right. You was 12.
You know what you
some of y'all already lost your virginity by 12. So how does Zaya not know what she wants?
Now, whether you regret it or not is a different story, but realize that this isn't apples and oranges. This is how someone identifies going after what they want and being supported. And you shouldn't have anything to say about it, but even if you do, keep that to yourself.
Right. I've had to gather a few people.
That's all I'm going to say on that, because now I'm mad.
Because, and I'm going to tell you why I'm mad, because somebody else, one of my friends on Facebook posted something, said that if I ever have a son that he come in at 12-year-old and tell me that he gay, I'm gonna tell him that he need to go in there and lay down and think about think about it. For what?
I'm sure he has thought about it for a really long time before he came up to you,
right?
Because he knows that you're homophobic, Dad. Whoo! That's another part of the black experience, and I gotta bring it up right now because it talks about making it out for black and brown queer people. That's another part of the black experience and of making it out, where when we are able to break through the confines of a lot of times very small-minded areas, and I don't mean to be shady because all my family's from Statesville. I love my family to death. But I'm not going to say that I grew up feeling completely comfortable with being who I was, because I knew that I was black and that I was gay at 12, at 11, at 10. But I couldn't be out with it. And so I didn't grow up and manifest into who I feel like I could have been if I lived in an area that had progressed past that in their social views. Because I'm not going to say that there's anything wrong with the social views there. I felt constrained. And it wasn't until I really got to college where I started to understand that I could be black, I could be gay, I could be a nerd. I could love God in my own way and have my own relationship with God. And I could want to give back to my community, and that I could be humble about it and didn't have to be better than anyone in my mind all together at once. And so it's like that was delayed, where a lot of people who are straight and cis and who, you know, everyone can or feels like they can label them as the macho man. They grow up being affirmed constantly. Right. You want to be the biggest and the strongest, and you can be, you know, and it, I'm sorry, I went on a whole rant.
No, because one of the points somebody was trying to make in all this is that, oh, it's the media fault. The media have been influencing the kids. Well, motherfucker, I'm a fucking 90s baby. I was literally born in 1990. Like, all we had back then was fucking heterosexual relationships. So if TV is such a big influence, and I watch a lot of TV, I still watch a lot of TV, and you're trying to tell me that the media influenced me to be gay, even though all I saw was heterosexual stuff. So you're telling me that now that we are actually having representation on TV for LGBTQ, it's all of a sudden everywhere when it's not everywhere.
Or now that children have parents who are allowing them to
be people.
Right. You expected Dwyane Wade to be this cookie cutter person
Black
in
person.
Your mind.
You wanted him to be your father.
Right. You wanted him to be your father. You wanted him to be the one raising these strong, talented sons so that they would also go into professional basketball, you know, and continue on his legacy and things like that. That's not your family, and you don't get to dictate how people grow up, especially those who are not in your family, because some of y'all don't even care about the people in y'all family. The only reason y'all care so much about Dwyane Wade is because he's famous, and somehow you think watching him has a connection to him. You don't get to tell him how to live his life. You don't.
As far as I'm concerned, Dwyane Wade and Gabrielle Union are excellent parents. Excellent parents.
And that's no shade. That's no shade to our parents, because my dad and my mom have supported me over the years and taught me so much. I'm just saying, we all lived in an area that wasn't as freeing living here in the Bible Belt.
Right.
And to grow up thinking that no matter how good you are, you're still going to hell over something that you didn't ask to be and something that you can't change, even if you don't act upon it. It's like you grew up in this very terrified state. And so when you mentioned PTSD, I felt that.
Yeah. Because listen, making it out also has to deal with, you know, identifying as LGBTQ in the Black community is so, and the reaction that everybody gave to this situation is the exact reason why motherfuckers never come out. That's why people never come out, because y'all be showing y'all true colors, and this is why it took me so long to come out. I was literally a sophomore in college. Like, I was literally a sophomore in college before I was, like you said, college taught me that I could be whoever I wanted to be and not have to apologize for it. I can be unapologetically Black.
Right. And
Black is not just being Black. Black, there are also subgenres of being Black too. And right now, being Black is conditional, and I fucking hate that shit. Being Black is conditional.
I think growing up in middle school, and I was teased by a lot of the Black kids because I wasn't the archetype of a Black person. And then it's like, it wasn't until I grew older and I started to recognize I was a very sensitive person, and I'm not blaming myself for it by any means, but I think I grew up in a very thick-skinned family.
Same.
And so it's like, I think I took a lot of it to heart when they were joking around, but they didn't realize, because I was like that I was a thin-skinned one. I was the anomaly. I was the one that was going to cry, you know? And so I think I really worked hard to, especially when I went to A&T, to love my Blackness again, because my Blackness was usually the rejection point, because everything else that came behind Black didn't fit.
Right.
And so, you know, to kind of think about that now, it's like, how dare you now come and tell me that based on this one condition, I cannot be accepted into the black collective?
You can be black, but you can't be gay.
You can't.
You can be black, but you definitely can't be trans.
No.
You can be black, but you can't like anime. Well,
Right.
no, I lie. You can like anime now. Anime is cool for all the streets. So.
The only one they probably know is Afro Samurai, which is dope, by the way.
It's great
Dope.
anime. Great anime. But anyway, we've gone off on a tangent here.
But it's kind of comes back to our next topic, which
Right.
has to do with relationships, and not just romantic, but just our relationships with people, how we approach interaction. So how did you feel growing up, I guess, to now, how your interactions may have changed or how you approach people?
Life has taught me a lot about relationships, and not even just relationships, but just people in general. And at the end of the day, people gonna do whatever they want to do. No matter what y'all said, what y'all talked about, what y'all agreed on, people gonna do whatever they want to do. And I have that programmed in my head. So whenever somebody is ready to walk out of my life, I'd be like, okay. But as far as building relationships, it really just depends. It used to be pretty easy for me as a kid. You know, you just walk up to somebody and just start playing with them and just be like, oh, well, what's your name?
Hey, what's your name?
Where you
Can I
live?
play with your truck?
Right. But as adults, it's just everybody is so guarded and so secluded and oh well, no new friends, and I'm just like, but that's not what being a human is about. And I think for me, I was never able to effectively learn how to build a romantic relationship. Like I was always pretty good at making friends, but not romantics. Like I've only been in 2 official relationships in 29. I don't look at my wrist like I had a watch on. 2 relationships in 29 years, but who am I supposed to talk to about it? Neither one of my parents identify like that. Like none of my, well, neither one of my siblings, as far as I know. Like, so who am I supposed to talk to? Like, Google, friends. Like that's where I learned a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
reading and just experience. But,
and I think it's funny saying that when you were like Google. I think we did end up having to look a lot of stuff up of just like, how do you know?
Right.
I'm thinking about it like, how do you know if you're gay? Or help, I have a crush on my best friend. How do I know if they might like me too? Or, you know, things like that. And it's funny things, but then you got to think about some of the old cheesy teenage love drama movies that we'd watch. And you'd always have like the straight boy or the straight girl always saying, oh, you know, like I'm in love with Danny. How do I know if he loves me back? And, you know, mom's just like, you got to just go for it, darling, or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't know where those voices came from. But, you know, like those things like that. And the lack of representation sometimes because our usual, or what we think of as a black community is that's taboo. Like we don't talk about that, and we don't find you necessarily the right information, and that's also how some young people get preyed on. And they sometimes experiment far before they're actually ready because they think that these images of what it is, because we're very sexualized.
Yes.
Especially black males.
Yes.
In general, black males, straight, black males, gay are very sexualized beings. And then black females are especially sexualized as well. And so it's like other people view us that way sometimes. And so when you approach someone in a way that, you know, is non-sexual, they sometimes may get the wrong impression just because of who you are. But there's so much nuance in how those interactions can go with some people. But I just think it's unfortunate that there's so many like us who grew up black and gay and than for some of us like us who grew up black, gay, and I guess I'm a self-proclaimed black nerd. So it's like I didn't fit in any facet. You know, I was geeky, I was gay, and I was fat. So all of those kind of tied into my relationships. Usually I'm still a very friendly person, but now I've built up this distrust because I feel like people have tried to take advantage of the niceness that I protrude because I wanted to be liked. I was a kid and I didn't feel the best about myself. I was young and naive, and I'm like, I want to be liked. And it like my relationships kind of ended up like I settled for stuff that was stupid. But
so for me, next steps after all of this is just to just kind of reevaluate my relationships, romantic and personal, and just making sure that I'm taking the proper steps to get out of the struggle and not constantly continue to be in it. Because at this point, I'm not working for myself. I'm working for other people. And the reason I took so much offense to this whole situation with Zaya and the Wades is that, that was me. Like back in the day, like that was around the time when I was starting to first realize, like, am I really attracted to boys? So to me, if you disrespecting somebody like that, then you disrespecting me. Right. And for anybody who feels like, if you feel some type of way and you feel like that I shouldn't be disrespected, then Chris Brown, like, I mean, because to me, I mean, if you don't accept everybody for who they are, then what? Then what do you do? Like,
I don't understand why people waste so much time worrying about. Like, if it's not hurting you, just let it go. Because at the end of the day, you still have some uncertainty about some uncertainty. Sorry, I said uncertainty. Some uncertainty about a lot of the things that y'all are saying. Y'all are just saying it because it seems popular to say it. And it makes you look very rude. And it's a poor reflection on your raising. And I know it sounds cliche, my mama didn't raise me better than that, but a lot of times mama's raised you a whole lot better than what you're acting. Right. But something has affected your mind to think if you're behind a keyboard, it doesn't have the same effect.
Words have power.
I'm telling you.
We were talking about that the other day. Words have power, and you don't forget what somebody said to you.
I still got some things.
Okay. And one of the conversations, that's a whole other topic. That's another topic. Are we good?
Well, I guess next steps for me, I think, is similar to what you said about continuing to work on find ways to, quote unquote, get out the struggle. But I think we've started to realize more and more that we really have to build ourselves before we can build others up. And it doesn't mean like we have to build this strong tower and then we hoist you up, but it may be, let me get a few of my bricks laid so I can step up and then help you up. And so I think that's where we're going with that. And I think just working on being my authentic self. I think it took us a while to, and we're still young, but it took us a while to really start to understand who we are. And I think I'm still working on liking me, but I also realize that the facets of me, like I said, are able to work together in a way that maybe back in the 90s wasn't accepted. Or maybe as a child I may have felt unaccepted, but I'm an adult now and ain't nobody paying my bills. But with that,
make sure you follow us on social media at @ToBeContinuedPC. That's on Instagram. That's also on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook, To Be Continued Podcast. You can also find us on, guess it, YouTube. Come on, To Be Continued Podcast. So make sure you look us up. Did I miss anything?
No, but usually in the description of all of our videos, it has the links to everything else. So if you want to switch from video to podcasting, now that we got our better microphones, definitely feel free to follow the links in the description and talk to us in the comments. As you can see, we love talking to each other, but we love talking to a bigger group as well. So make sure you share, give us your opinion, and we'll definitely respond.
And I don't want anybody to think that I don't know how to agree to disagree, because to me that is the most epic thing ever. Just agreeing to disagree. Okay, so I'm over it. You're obviously not gonna get what I'm saying. Let's just agree to disagree. Let's dead it and just move on.
Right.
But
so until next time, and as always, this conversation is
to be continued.
Peace.
P.S. Don't forget, next week we're gonna be talking about imposter syndrome, and hopefully on episode 8 we will get into like some kinky stuff like sex.
I'm gonna tell my mama not to listen to that.
But we gonna see. We gonna keep y'all posted.
All right. Peace.